Look down at what you are wearing right now. A shirt, pants, maybe shoes, maybe a jacket. You put them on this morning without thinking, the same way you brushed your teeth or poured your coffee, as if clothing is just something humans have always done, as natural as breathing. But it is not natural. Not even close. Every other animal on this planet walks around completely naked, and not one of them is embarrassed about it. So why are you different? Why did your ancestors, at some point in deep time, decide to cover themselves up? And here is the part that should stop you cold. The answer has almost nothing to do with modesty, and almost nothing to do with cold weather either. The real reason humans started wearing clothes is stranger, older, and far more desperate than anything you learned in school. Go back about 170,000 years. Your ancestors are living in southern Africa, and the world is in the grip of a brutal glacial period. Temperatures have dropped. Food is scarce. The human population has been squeezed down to perhaps 10,000 individuals, maybe fewer. Your species is not thriving. Your species is barely surviving. And there is a problem your ancestors did not anticipate. About 1 million years before this moment, something happened to the human body that made it extraordinary and also made it vulnerable. Your ancestors lost their fur. Not quickly, not all at once, but gradually, over hundreds of thousands of years. The thick coat of body hair that had protected earlier primates simply disappeared. The reason was sweat. Your ancestors developed the most sophisticated cooling system in the animal kingdom. Millions of tiny eccrine sweat glands distributed across nearly every inch of skin, allowing them to run long distances in the midday heat, while every other predator retreated to the shade. Researcher Nina Jablonski at Penn State University has spent decades studying this transition, and her conclusion is clear. The loss of body hair was a triumph of endurance. It made your ancestors the best long-distance hunters on the savanna, but it also left them naked. And naked is fine when you are running across a sun-baked plain. Naked becomes a death sentence when the temperature drops. So here is what researchers believe happened next. Your ancestors did not invent clothing because they wanted to. They invented it because something else was eating them alive. Literally. In 2011, a team of researchers led by David Reed at the University of Florida published a study that used an unlikely detective, the body louse. The body louse, unlike its cousin, the head louse, does not live on skin. It lives in clothing. It cannot survive without fabric to cling to. By tracing the genetic divergence between head lice and body lice, Reed and his team were able to calculate the approximate moment when body lice first evolved. Their conclusion placed the origin of clothing at roughly 170,000 years ago, right in the middle of that brutal glacial period. The lice could not have evolved to live in clothing if there was no clothing to live in. Your ancestors did not just start wearing clothes. They wore clothes long enough for an entirely new species of parasite to evolve inside those clothes. Think about that for a moment. You did not inherit clothing from a single brilliant inventor. You inherited it from thousands of years of cold, desperate, resourceful people who figured out, slowly and collectively, that wrapping themselves in animal skin was the difference between living and dying. But then something unexpected happened. Clothing did not stay functional for long. It became something else entirely, and it happened faster than anyone would have predicted. Archaeologist Francesco De Rico at the University of Bordeaux has documented evidence that by around 120,000 years ago, humans were already decorating their bodies, using pigments, wearing perforated shells as beads, arranging objects in ways that had no survival function whatsoever. The drive to adorn, to signal, to display, appeared almost as soon as the technology to cover up existed. Your ancestors were not just warm, they were dressed. And dressing, it turns out, rewired the entire social structure of the human species. Here is why this matters. When you wear clothes, you make choices, and those choices carry meaning. The animal skin you chose to wrap around your body told every person who looked at you something about who you were, where you came from, what you had killed, what group you belonged to. Clothing became the first language that did not require a single word. Before writing, before agriculture, before cities, your ancestors were already broadcasting identity through fabric. Researcher Gillian Vogelsang Eastwood, a textile archaeologist at the National Museum of Ethnology in Leiden, has argued that the social function of clothing may have emerged almost simultaneously with its practical function. Because humans are intensely social animals, any object that touched the body was immediately loaded with meaning, status, alliance, desire, threat. You still do this today without thinking about it. Right now, the clothes on your body are sending a signal. To your coworkers, to strangers on the street, to everyone who glances at you for half a second and makes a judgment they will never speak aloud. Research in social psychology has shown consistently that people form detailed first impressions based on clothing within the first few seconds of seeing another person, long before any words are exchanged. Your brain is not unique in doing this. It is ancient. It inherited this behavior from ancestors who lived in small bands, where reading another person's visual signals quickly was a matter of survival. The stranger approaching your camp. Were they friend or enemy? Their clothing told you before they ever opened their mouth. But here is the twist that almost no one talks about. Clothing did not just change how others saw your ancestors. It changed how your ancestors saw themselves. Psychologist Hajo Adam at Northwestern University conducted a now famous series of experiments exploring what he called enclothed cognition, the idea that the clothes you wear do not merely reflect your mental state, they actively shape it. In one experiment, participants who wore a white lab coat described as a doctor's coat performed significantly better on attention tasks than those wearing the same coat described as a painter's smock. The coat was identical. The effect was entirely psychological. What you wear changes what you believe you are capable of. It changes how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you make decisions. Your ancestors discovered this without ever running a single experiment. The warrior who wrapped himself in a lion's skin was not just keeping warm. He was becoming something. The shaman who dressed in feathers and bone was not just performing a ritual. She was inhabiting a role. And the moment that happened, clothing crossed a threshold it has never come back from. It was no longer just protection from the cold. It was the first technology humans ever used to construct the self. You are still doing this. Every morning, when you open your wardrobe and choose what to put on, you are not just getting dressed. You are making a decision about who you are going to be today. The version of you that wears the suit is different from the version of you that wears the hoodie. Not in the eyes of other people only, but in your own mind, in your own body, in how you sit and stand and speak. 170,000 years ago, a cold and frightened human being wrapped a piece of animal skin around their body because the alternative was freezing to death. And in doing so, accidentally invented the idea that you could choose who you were. Look down again at what you are wearing right now. You did not just get dressed this morning. You decided, without even realizing it, who you were going to be today. The same way your ancestors did, standing in a world that was trying to kill them, reaching for the one thing they had that no other animal possessed. Not fur, not claws, not speed, a choice.